Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. In this video, I'm gonna show you how I turn my peanut butter cookie recipe into a vegan peanut butter cookie recipe. So starting off by naming the animal products in my original peanut butter cookie recipe, I have butter here, which I will be replacing with some coconut oil. And this is kind of my go-to replacement for butter because it has a rather soft texture at room temperature, and the taste is quite nice and very neutral. So I'm gonna do a 1-to-1 substitute on that. And next up, and the final ingredient in terms of animal products, is the egg. And if you have seen my vegan substitution video, you will see that applesauce is a nice substitute for when you have something that requires moisture. And the main role of the egg is just to bind ingredients together in the cookies and provide moisture. So I decided to focus on the moisture factor. That's why I'm choosing applesauce for this recipe. So for one egg, I'm gonna be using 4 tablespoons of applesauce. And just like that, we managed to take a cookie recipe and turn it into a vegan cookie recipe. If you want more info on vegan baking, then head to the link in the description box. I've put a link to my video. Early January, I posted a set of guidelines for you to do these conversions yourself. So the rest of the ingredients I kept the same. So I have a mixture of granulated sugar and brown sugar. I'm using light brown sugar, and I find that this combination really gives the cookie a nice structure and moisture. Next up, we have our dry ingredients. I'm using all-purpose flour here. And to that, I'm gonna add some salt, some baking powder, and baking soda. Typical cookie stuff. Just combine your dry ingredients before you add them to the rest of the ingredients. Now for the main ingredient, we have peanut butter as the main flavor for the cookies. So yes, we're gonna be using quite a bit of peanut butter. This is 3/4 of a cup. That's about 180 grams. And I'm using smooth peanut butter. You could also use crunchy peanut butter that might add a little bit of texture to the cookies. If you like that, then go for it. It shouldn't matter. Now, depending on the brand of peanut butter that you have available in your supermarket, in the store, you might see that there's a consistency difference. For example, this is quite spreadable, I would say. It's not very oily, but there are different types of peanut butter. I found, for example, in vegan stores that they have a very runny sort of peanut butter. Perhaps there's added oils, so you do want to watch out for that kind of thing. And just bear in mind that if your peanut butter has a different texture, then your cookie might need a little more flour or a little less flour. Now I'm gonna take the peanut butter and combine that with the coconut oil because they have similar textures. I can just start by creaming the two together. And I'm using my stand-up mixer, but you can also do this by hand. If you're using a stand-up mixer like I am, then go for the paddle attachment. The paddle attachment is your best friend when it comes to baking cookies. So I start at a low to medium speed, just trying to combine the ingredients. I'm not trying to add any air to this. Once everything is combined, you can add your sugars, and I just dump them all at once. Again, I'm just gonna stir this until it's nicely combined. Before I forget, there is vanilla extract in this recipe because you know me, I have to have vanilla extract in everything. Make sure to scrape the sides of your bowl regularly. Now we're ready for our dry ingredients. and you can just dump the whole thing at once and start your stand-up mixer. If you're using a stand-up mixer, you start in a low speed when you add dry ingredients. Otherwise, you end up with flour all over your counter and kitchen. Now, I wanted to stop here and show you the texture of the cookie dough. You can see that it's pretty cracky when I press it, so it needs a little bit of moisture. And this is where our egg substitute comes in. I'm gonna add a little bit of the applesauce. I'm adding a little bit at a time and checking the consistency as I go. So again, do a texture check, because you might find that after adding 2 tablespoons or even 3 tablespoons that your dough has the right texture. The texture that you want is, you want to be able to squeeze the dough in your hands and not have any cracks. And with that in mind, I think my dough is ready. So time to scoop the cookies out into even portions. And for this job, you know that I'm a huge fan of the ice cream scoop, because you get even portions. And this is important. You want to be able to bake your cookies and have them all brown at the same time, at the same speed. So would you look at that? It almost looks like an ice cream scoop. So I'm gonna just shape it into a rough ball with my hands, and then I'll be ready to shape them into their final form. And I know what you're thinking. This looks extremely tempting to eat just as it is, but there is raw flour in there. So no, I don't recommend you having a bite out of this. So I'm just gonna bake 6 cookies here, because that's what fits best in my tray. And I want them to be nice and evenly distributed. And I want them to have space. Now, to give them the signature peanut butter look, we're gonna grab a fork, and using the back of the fork, we're gonna press down into the cookie balls. And we're gonna do this perpendicularly. So we're going in one direction, and then turn 90 degrees and press again. And if you got the texture of the cookies just right, then you won't have any problems of the dough sticking to the fork. Now let me just finish all of these cookies and we'll bake them straight away. You don't need to put them in the fridge or let them rest. These are just gonna come out beautifully straight away. Now they're gonna bake at a 180 Celsius oven for about 12 to 15 minutes. Just watch out for that beautiful golden brown circling around the edge of the cookie. And you can see that they do expand a bit, so you do want to give them some space when you scoop them and shape them. Now the hardest part, as usual, letting them cool. So once you let them cool completely, because otherwise they will be too soft to move around and you might break them. You want to just let them cool completely on the tray and then move them onto your wired cookie rack if you have one. So let's take a look at the cookie. We have a beautifully golden brown bottom, crispy edges, and even though the cookie spreads in the oven, you can see that it has a very nice thickness to it. It's crispy, it's moist, and most importantly, it's packed with peanut butter flavor. So I hope you liked this video, and if you did, please like the video and don't forget to subscribe.